Hi there. I hope you're having a great day. I wanted to thank you so much for coming back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Andrea and welcome to Eldon Acres. So it is Sunday and per usual, we are going to do our little Sunday reset slash meal prep day. So on Sundays, I like to prep a couple meals to get us through the week. Both my husband Brandon and I work away from the home, so I just like to make sure that when we get home in the evenings, supper is prepped so that we can get home and we can eat relatively quickly. It just makes life so much easier. So this is what I like to do on Sundays. So today we are going to prep a chili. I always make my chili a little bit differently, so we're just gonna throw something together in the crock pot and then tomorrow morning be able to pull it out of the fridge, pop it into the crock pot insert, set it to low, and it'll be ready to go when I get home. I always keep fresh bread in the freezer, so we'll probably pull out some fresh bread and possibly make a garlic bread, maybe cheesy garlic bread to go with it. That just sounds pretty delicious. And then one of the other meals that we are going to prep is a chicken tikka masala. So I will have that prepped and ready to go in the Instant Pot, so that same thing, all I have to do is pull the Instant Pot insert out of the fridge, pop it into the Instant Pot just to reheat it, and we'll have that over rice, probably just a minute rice, takes no time at all. So that's kind of what the lineup is looking like today. So behind me, I just have a frying pan going with some, probably about a pound of ground beef, and I think there was 3 or 4 hot Italian sausages. So we've just got that in there browning up. I've got some bell peppers here that were one of the last ones to come out of the garden. We're gonna dice that up to go into our chili as well. It is an absolutely beautiful day out there today. It is October 19th today, I believe. No, it's not. It is October 20th today. Oh my gosh, the month is flying by. But anyways, it's Sunday, October 20th, and it is supposed to be a high of 21 degrees Celsius out there today. It is absolutely stunning. We had our first hard killing frost this past week. I believe it happened Wednesday night. I took a video because I had a feeling it was going to happen, so I videoed the last video of the garden, just kind of, you know, how things looked right before the frost. I do like to do that. And then, yeah, the next morning I woke up, there was frost on our roof, and everything out in the garden is unfortunately done. It's okay, because normally we have a killing frost by the end of September, so we got a good extra 3 or 4 weeks out of this growing season, which was absolutely amazing. I love having, you know, that extra time with the flowers. That's really the only thing that was left in the garden was flowers, dahlias, zinnias, cosmos, and then a bunch of perennials. So yeah, that's where we're at today. It's been a little bit of a crazy week around here. My daughter unfortunately got pink eye, so it's highly contagious. So we've just been like, you know, disinfecting, washing, bedding, cleaning, trying to make sure that Brandon and I don't also get pink eye. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I'm an optician, so I work in an eye care clinic. So it's not ideal if I get pink eye, because I shouldn't go to work. Nobody should go to work if they get pink eye, because it is highly contagious. We took my daughter to the walk-in clinic yesterday morning and got her a prescription eye drop, so she should be okay within 48 hours of being on the drop. So fingers crossed that's the case. She started daycare just over a month ago, and I swear to God, she's been sick ever since. We've had ear infections, we've had, I'm pretty sure, COVID, we've had pink eye now. It's just like never ending. That on top of the teething, and oh, it's just lots of fun. Anyways, back to what we're doing today. We're gonna get some meal prep done, and then I'm hoping, fingers crossed, in a different video possibly today, we're going to get some of the garden cleanup done. I want to get, you know, things put to bed, so to speak, and then I have to prep a flower bed, or a new bed, I should say, for garlic. So I'm hoping to get my garlic planted possibly next weekend. The long range forecast, like this entire week, is supposed to be like high teens, low 20s, like absolutely beautiful. I don't know what it's called for you, but growing up it was always called an Indian summer, kind of the last hurrah, so to speak. So just trying to enjoy it as much as possible because I've heard we're gonna have a hard winter. So yeah, just wanting to get outside and get all the final garden projects done in the nice weather. So yeah, that's what we're up to today. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get some of these peppers diced. So I've got bell peppers and a couple jalapeno peppers. I don't want to make this chili too spicy, but I really want to utilize what we have. So that's what we've got going. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some of this stuff prepped and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've got my ground beef just on the stove starting to brown behind me here. I took my meat out this morning, now it's about 20 to 12, but it hasn't had quite enough time to completely thaw out, which is totally fine in an application like this. We're just gonna brown the meat just so that it's, you know, cooked through, and then it's going to cook in the crock pot. It'll be fully cooked when it goes into the crock pot. I know some people will put their ground beef raw into the crock pot, but I've never done that and I don't quite understand how it would, like, you know, crumble up. It just doesn't quite make sense to me. So I like to cook it before we put it in the crock pot. So anyways, my ground beef is starting to cook. Again, it's frozen, so it'll just cook nice and slow. We've got our sausages here. I always pretty much buy sausages like this in casing because it's easy to use in so many applications. You can use it for sausage on a bun. I just want to turn this down a little bit. Just starting to sizzle a little bit too much. So anyways, sausage and casings are perfect because you can use it for sausage on a bun. You can dice it up and cook it with like pierogies. We like to do it that way, like sliced sausage and pierogies for supper. But also you can use it as ground pork. So you just take it out of the casing. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Now my sausages are also still pretty frozen, but to be honest with you, it makes doing this process a lot easier when they're frozen opposed to when they're completely thawed. So this is going to work out in our benefit. So what I do is I just take a little paring knife and I just run it just down the sausage. We don't really want to cut into the meat part. We just want to slice the casing off. So as you can see, we've just kind of put a little slice through the casing there, and then I'm just going to peel it back and remove it. And we will just compost this. I'll probably feed this back to my chickens. They eat literally everything. So I didn't do a good job of showing you, but that's out of the casing. I'll do the next one and I'll kind of show you a little closer. So we're just gonna slice down that casing, and then we're just gonna pull, the casing back. And we're just gonna peel it right off. Just like that, and then it leaves perfect. Now if you do this when your sausages are completely frozen, or completely thawed, excuse me, it just means that the meat inside is going to be very soft and a little bit harder to handle. So you'll probably do this, you'll slice the casing, and then it'll just be like a little bit sticky almost. So if you can do it while they're still par frozen, that's just kind of an easy little tip. So we'll just do our last one here. And then what I'll do is I'm gonna put it right into the frying pan with the ground beef, and we're gonna just cook everything together. Perfect. Okay, what I might do though is just give them like a quick little chop. Just they'll cook a little bit faster because they are still a little bit frozen. It just might help things along a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna carry on and we'll get everything into the frying pan cooking away. All right, I've got us all prepped and ready to go. So first, so that I don't forget, we're going to put in one of our garlic pucks. So this was the garlic that we used to use all the time that we diced and froze into these pucks, and they're super duper handy. So we're gonna put one in now because sometimes I forget. And I forget. I always remember like eventually, but now that it's in there, I don't have to panic about it later. If you ever do this process, like dice and chop your garlic beforehand and freeze it into pucks, always make sure you double bag it, because garlic is so strong it can permeate through bags. So I like to double bag it so that other things that are beside it in the freezer don't start to taste like the garlic. So that's just a little tip. And we've got our garlic in there. I have diced up our bell peppers and our jalapeno peppers. So when I make chili, I make it different every single time. And this time is no different. So normally I don't put this many peppers in there, but because we've got tons of peppers fresh that came out of the garden, I wanted to use as many as I could. So we've got quite a few. You just do whatever your family likes. Brandon doesn't love bell peppers, but you really won't notice them once everything kind of cooks down together. So now is the fun part. So this is kind of where you can make it to your family's preference. Again, I don't really follow a recipe. This is just kind of what I've learned, you know, over the years of making chili, just what our family likes. So what we're going to add now, I would do fresh if I had them, but I don't. I always keep a can of sliced mushrooms. That's what these are. So I'm going to add a can of sliced mushrooms. I have drained those, so they've already been drained of the juices. So we're going to add that. I'm going to add a can of drained kidney beans. Normally I would do chickpeas because that's what my family prefers, but somehow I don't have any, which is strange. I always have chickpeas on hand, but I don't today. So that's okay. We're going to do red kidney beans, and then I'm going to do a can of baked beans. I really like baked beans in chili. Not everybody does, but I love the extra kind of flavor that it gives. And then you just can't go wrong with beans. Like, they just add an extra source of iron. They're delicious. So we're going to get that added in here. I learned that trick from my kindergarten teacher, who is actually a good family friend. When we were younger, my dad used to go moose hunting, so he would go away for a week, and we would go over to this lady's house for dinner, and she would always make the most delicious chili, and it always had baked beans in it, so I've kind of adopted that little trick. I'm also going to add in a can of diced tomatoes in like an urban spice blend. Now, if I didn't drain these, they're just going in like that. If I had fresh tomatoes or my own canned tomatoes right now, we'd be using that, but I don't, and that's fine. Just whatever works for your family. I always keep diced tomatoes on hand, whether it's my own that I've processed or store-bought, because they keep for so long, and in a pinch, they work. You can pull a meal together with that, a protein, and a vegetable. Like, it really works well. Now, this is kind of a funny ingredient, but we're going to do a can of condensed tomato soup. I know it seems so weird, but I learned this off of a lady that I used to work with. She used to do it, and again, it just adds some really good flavor and kind of helps to thicken things up. You know how sometimes chilies can be really runny, you know, especially after you add all your vegetables, your tomatoes, they're pretty juicy, that kind of thing. So I just find that condensed tomato soup, it still has your tomato flavor, a little bit of sweetness to it, and then it just kind of helps to keep things nice and thick. We'll give that a stir. I'm also going to add some salt and pepper. And I'm probably going to add, that might be a little bit much, but I would say probably, I don't know, 2 teaspoons of salt. I didn't season my meat at all, so we're just seasoning in the crock pot. So that's, it might seem like a lot, but there's a lot that's going to go in here. Okay, that's, I need to open this side. We love pepper, so we're probably going to add about, I don't know, maybe a tablespoon of pepper. And I know it seems like a lot, but we're making a lot of food. And then our chili powder, and I'm probably going to add, honestly, I never really measure it. You just kind of add until it smells like chili. But I would say for something this size, maybe 2 tablespoons. Yeah, 2 tablespoons is probably going to be suitable. Maybe a little more. And you can add more if needed. That's the nice thing with doing it ahead of time. Once you have everything added into your crock pot, because the meat's cooked, you can taste it before you put it in the fridge. And I have done that plenty of times. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm gonna get this all mixed up. My meat is just finishing cooking behind me there. It is pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Like greasy, like there's a lot of juices left behind, so I will drain it. That's probably from using half of the meat being the sausage and half of it was a ground beef, but it was a store-bought ground beef. I didn't use homegrown ground beef because I think I mentioned in a video before I'm getting a little bit low on my homegrown ground beef. And in an application like this, I'm totally happy to use a store-bought ground beef because you don't really taste, you know, the actual meat. It's being seasoned well. So I'm just gonna go ahead and drain my meat and get it in here as well. Okay, so I got a little bit sidetracked there. It's much later in the afternoon than I was anticipating. I remembered that I had a basket of peppers that I had picked last week that I had just had in our back room, which, like our mudroom, it stays pretty cool. And I had completely forgotten about them. So when I was chopping up the peppers for the chili, I thought about them. So I went and checked on them, and they were starting to get to the point that they needed to be used or frozen. So that's what I did. I just went through, it was mostly jalapeno peppers. There were just a few bell peppers. So I just went through, de-seeded, diced them all and put them into medium freezer bags, and then we froze them. So I got 3 more freezer bags of diced jalapeno and bell peppers. I just mixed it all together, and then we'll just use them in things like chili, pasta, spaghetti, all stuff like that. Just dump them in from the freezer and it'll be great. So we got that done, but now it is 4:30. So it's much later in the day than I was anticipating to still be doing meal prep. So we're gonna get going now on we're gonna do a chicken tikka masala, and I'm totally gonna like do a cheat. Sometimes I make the sauce from scratch, but we don't have time for that. I mean, I still could, but we still have to do supper and bath time, and it's Sunday night, so I have to get ready for the work week for myself and daycare and all that fun stuff. Plus, I still want to get some stuff done outside. So we're just gonna do a little cheat with this meal prep. But we're still going to enjoy it. It's still gonna be delicious and healthy. So what we're gonna do first here is I'm gonna go through, so this is just a package of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna go through and trim off any, you know, excess fatty bits or just tough looking spots. We're just gonna trim them and then cut them into bite-sized pieces. So we're gonna get that done here now. Then what we're going to do is, so like something like this right here. See how like right there, there's like a fatty chunk. I typically cut that off. You don't have to, but I just know that we don't really like to eat that. There's another little one there. So just as I'm kind of like cutting them up, I do just like to go through and kind of trim them up a little bit. Again, you don't have to, but I know that this is how my family and I prefer to eat this meal, so I just take a couple extra minutes and do that. Anyways, so while I'm trimming these up into bite-sized pieces, I've got my Instant Pot just over here preheating. We're just going to use the saute function just to brown the meat. So we'll brown the meat in there and get our sauce going. What I will do is I'll have everything cooked so that the night that we want to enjoy this meal, all we have to do is reheat it in the Instant Pot. Just on like the saute setting, it just takes like literally 5 minutes, which is how much time it'll take me to make rice to go with it. So yeah, normally when I make this, I'll often make the sauce from scratch. I'm not going to do that today. I do also always keep a jar of our favorite brand on hand. So that's what we're going to do today. Is I'm just going to use store-bought jar sauce. And then I also typically, when I make this into my sauce, I like to add a vegetable of some sort. Usually I will add spinach and diced carrots. I don't have any diced carrots fresh, and I just checked my freezer and I don't have any, at least I can't find them in the freezer right now. I need to do some freezer organization, but I don't have time to do that, of course, today. So I just had a quick look. I don't see any, but I did come across some peas and cauliflower. So what I think I'll do is I will add some spinach and probably peas, but I will do that tomorrow when I reheat it, because peas, I always find them a little bit better the less time they spend in a sauce, if that makes sense, like texture wise and flavor. I don't know if that's just me, but that's just what I find. So tomorrow, just before we eat it, I'll pop the peas in just long enough for them to thaw. Like literally it'll take them kind of like 3 minutes, and then yeah, we'll enjoy that over rice. So we'll have vegetable, our protein, and a carb all in one meal. It'll be great. I'll probably serve a side salad as well for Brandon and I. My daughter, she doesn't really eat salads yet, but she does really enjoy a good chicken tikka masala, or a butter chicken she also enjoys. Anyways, I'm just going to carry on trimming these up, and then I will show you what we end up doing with them in just a couple minutes. Okay, so I've got my chicken here, but I forgot a stirring device. One moment. Okay, so I've got my chicken here, so we're just gonna get it into the Instant Pot. It's preheated, ready to go. I've got that in there, and now I'm gonna salt and pepper it. And then we're gonna give it a stir. And now we're just gonna let it sit so that it can get a really nice amount of color. Oh, my dogs are going crazy. I think there's a delivery here. One moment. Okay, so our chicken's been cooking for about 4 minutes, maybe. Excuse me. It's got some really good color to it, so I'm gonna add our sauce. So this is the kind of sauce that I'm gonna put on there. I don't think I've used this brand before, but I like this brand for other things, so I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah, it smells delicious. So we're just gonna dump this in here. And we like things to have like a little bit of extra sauce, especially because I'm going to be adding more vegetables. Actually, that doesn't look too bad. What I typically do is and I'm going to do this, is I'm gonna add a little bit of cream into the jar, give it a shake, and then dump the rest of it in there. So just a minute and I'll go do that. All right, so I've got my cream in here. Give it a little shake just to get all that extra delicious sauce out of there. Now, you don't have to use cream. You can totally use water for this, just to get like all that extra stuff out of there. I also find if you're adding more things other than just your chicken, like we're adding lots of veggies, it'll just help thin out and stretch your sauce a little bit more. And the nice thing with adding the cream is sometimes I find a tikka masala sauce a little bit spicy, especially for our daughter. So adding the cream just helps to tone that spice down a little bit. It'll still thicken up because the cream will thicken up as it cooks as well. And it just adds like a beautiful flavor too, a rich flavor, which I really appreciate. So yeah, okay, so I'm gonna show you what this is looking like right now. I'm gonna bring you in and give you a look. We're just gonna let this continue to cook for probably another 10 minutes or so, just until that chicken is cooked through. And then it's gonna sit in the fridge and all those flavors will marinate and get even more delicious. And this is gonna be so good. Such a quick and easy weeknight dinner. You could totally pull this together really quickly on a weeknight. It's just that I like to just have things ready to go. One less thing for me to worry about and think about when I get home after a busy, crazy day of running here, there, and everywhere. All right, so I decided that I would whip up a dozen muffins for breakfast for this week. I like to have something like that we can just grab and go, because sometimes we're still kind of figuring out the daycare drop-off timeline dance, and a lot of times in the mornings I have to either wake my daughter up or I let her sleep as long as I can because I know she needs the sleep. And then we're just like rushing to get out the door. It takes us about 12 to 15 minutes to get to daycare. So if I have something like a muffin that I can take with us and she can eat it in the car, then it works so much easier, and it's just a lot less stressful for me to try to get her to eat quickly. Like, that just doesn't work, right? So I like to have some muffins on hand, so I figured we would just whip up a quick batch of oatmeal muffins. I'll probably add in some chocolate chips just for fun. But anyways, I've got my warm water measured out here. I'm gonna crack my egg in here. I literally just ran out to the chicken coop to get this egg, so it's nice and fresh. Now, I'm kind of breaking my own rule by cracking my egg into my water. Normally I crack my eggs into like a separate bowl or vessel or whatever, just in case, you know, if you have chicken, you know that sometimes you can come across a bad egg, whether it got forgotten or whatever. So good practice. I didn't listen to my own rules. So we've got our egg in our water. Just gonna give it a mix. And I've got our dry ingredients here already measured out. So our dry ingredients are just gonna go right in. And I'm gonna add a little bit extra cinnamon. Actually, it's not extra, I'm just gonna add cinnamon. There's no cinnamon in here yet. When I'm making a breakfast muffin like that, I like to have cinnamon, and then some vanilla. Just a touch. I already have my oatmeal, my whole wheat flour, my salt, and everything else in that dry mix. Okay, and then I'm just gonna add maybe a handful of chocolate chips. I don't always do this for breakfast muffins especially, but maybe a bit more. We're gonna do 12 big muffins. And we'll just kind of gently fold those in. You don't want to over mix a batter like this. I just want it to stay nice and fluffy. Okay, I'm just gonna set that over here. So I like to use these silicone muffin tray. I don't use papers. It just, again, makes life so much easier. So we're just gonna give it a good spray with a cooking spray here. And I like to spray it relatively heavily, I guess you might say, just because there's no paper in there. I want to make sure that they're going to pop out nice and easily. And then I use my scooper just to make sure that I get nice even scoops. So this recipe is supposed to make 12 muffins, so I'll just use my scoop, and then we'll just do like an entire full scoop in each one, and if there's extra, we'll just divide it between. The only thing about this muffin pan, I got it off of Amazon, and I can link it below, because I do really like it for like those egg bites. I often use it to make that. But I find it's kind of like a weird size for a muffin. It's kind of like an in-between size, I guess. Like, it's not a mini muffin, but it's not, you know, your regular size muffin. So when I make a recipe, oftentimes I have extra batter left over. So I add more to each cup, and then it's just way over full and things don't bake properly. So maybe that's just like a me problem and not a pan problem, but still, one thing that I have noticed. I just wish it was, the cups were just like a little bit bigger. All right, I'm just gonna get my little mini spatula. I just did a couple dishes there while I was cooking up the chicken for the tika masala, so save myself that extra work later, although I'm gonna have more dishes now. Story of my life. I feel like the dishes are never ending, but I guess that's a good sign. You can't have good food without dishes. All right, so yeah, so like I've literally got enough probably for an entire other muffin pan, but we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna add some kind of here and there, and we're just gonna make it work. It sounds like I might have a visitor on my porch. If you guys have watched any of my previous videos, you know that we have a goose, a female goose. Her name is Phil, and she free ranges. My chickens free range too, to a certain extent. Phil free ranges all day long, and then I put her away in her pen at night. Whereas the chickens, I just let them out on certain days if I know I'm gonna be home, because we've had predator issues with the chickens. The predators don't seem to bother the goose, thank goodness, but she also usually hangs out with the dogs, which I think is helpful. But anyways, the reason why I brought her up is I can hear her. She likes to come up on my side porch here, and I give her usually a little snack, and I can hear her waddling up the steps. I'm sure you're gonna start to hear her in just a minute. I'll include a little clip in the video if she does come up. She might just be passing by. It's hard to say. The chickens are free ranging, so she doesn't usually come up when they're out because she's hanging out with them, but she also can't help herself if she knows there's a treat up here. All right, so we've got our muffins ready to go. So these are gonna go in the oven. I've got my oven preheated to 400. I think they bake for 18 to 20 minutes, which will be perfect because that'll give me some time to kind of reset this kitchen and get all the rest of the things organized that we cooked earlier today and ready to go in the fridge. So we will be back here in a few minutes once these muffins are ready to come out of the oven. You better take it. Excuse me. Where'd this one go? You guys. All right, friends, that is it for today's video. I feel like this one was a little bit hectic and all over the place, and I apologize for that, but that's just the day that we're having today. Sundays can get a little bit hectic around here and just kind of all over the place, trying to make sure that we get everything done to set us up for a successful week. So we've got a couple meals prepped, so that's a step in the right direction. So we've got our chicken tikka masala here prepped. So all we have to do with this one to bring it together is reheat it. It's fully cooked, so we just have to reheat it and add a vegetable to it. Like I said, I'll probably add peas or cauliflower. I also remembered that I do have some bag salads in the fridge that I need to use up this week, so I may even just heat it up how it is and have a bag salad on the side, serve it over rice. We'll just do a minute rice, takes 5 minutes, super quick and simple and delicious, and the whole family will enjoy that one. Here we've got our chili, so a very, very full crock pot of chili. So we will pop that into the insert tomorrow morning, let it cook all day on low, and we'll enjoy that with probably some garlic bread, as I mentioned. And then we've got the muffins out here. So see what I mean? I love this silicone thing, oven tray, but the muffins they never really seem to come out quite how I expect them to, but they will still be absolutely delicious. They're cooked well on the bottom and the top, and just a few chocolate chips in there just to make them extra special for breakfasts. Quick, easy, grab and go breakfast for this week. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put these in the fridge, pop the muffins out, put them in a container, and they'll be ready to go. And yeah, so that's it. We got everything accomplished that we needed to get accomplished. It was just a little bit all over the place. It's 7 o'clock now. We're going to have leftovers for supper. My daughter, of course, has already eaten. My husband and I tend to eat a little bit later. We find it a little bit easier that way, and then we can eat together and kind of, go over everything that happened throughout the day. So we enjoy doing that. So we've got leftover Thanksgiving dinner to have tonight. So that will be delicious. We'll just heat that up and have that. And then we've got some suppers ready to go for the week. So I wanted to thank you guys so much again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope to see you again in the next one. Thanks so much, and I hope you're having a great day as well. Take care.